Quote, "The Fifth Amendment has been an old friend, a good friend. It is one of the great landmarks in men's struggle to be free of tyranny, to be decent and civilized." This is a quote from Supreme Court Justice William Douglas. And what I'd like to point out about that quote is the word old friend. Because America did not create the Fifth Amendment. They did not create the right to a fair trial. But now, on the scale of the world, we have the opportunity to uphold that for every other nation. Because the Constitution is a rule book. And just like any rule book, it needs to change to adapt to its circumstances. The first year of this national contest was 1938. It was held in Oklahoma with 4,000 students. Not 52, 4,000. And I couldn't find an original copy of the 1938 handbook, but I can make an estimated guess that it's changed quite a bit. Circumstances have developed that have required changes to the rule book to still be applicable to the current competition. And that's the same with the Constitution. The handbook for this competition has been passed down to generation, just as the Constitution has for almost the last 250 years. So while the Fifth Amendment wasn't created by the U.S., pretty soon it's going to be our generation's responsibility to uphold it, to make changes to the way that we interpret it so that it's still applicable to the present. The Fifth Amendment provides 5 provisions. It defends against self-incrimination. It gives the right to grand jury. It defends against eminent domain, the government taking land without paying it back, and it gives the right to a fair trial. And so a lot of these ideas don't originate from America. They originate from even back to when Jesus was born. In the book of Deuteronomy, the 5th book of Moses, it was said that you would need 2 to 3 rabbis to be there in cases of grand trial. Then we move on to the Magna Carta, in which it is said that no man should have his property taken from him without fair trial. A lot of these rights originate from the Latin phrase nemo tenentur accusare, which roughly translates in my terrible Latin to no man should be bound to accuse himself. These are not new concepts, but now America has the responsibility to uphold them and make a statement about where America stands on the right of the people. Because the Fifth Amendment was one of the first developments in human thought of the decency of civic law. Because even thousands of years ago, we understood that this was essential not only for the decency of human beings, but for all other civil rights. Think about in our landmark supreme cases, what rights would we have if we didn't have the right to a fair trial? We would not have Miranda rights. Even the 14th Amendment specifically copies the wording of the Fifth Amendment in its due process clause. Brown v. Board of Education wouldn't have been able to happen without the right to a fair trial. But just as the rule book for this competition has been passed down to future generations, it will be our generation's duty to continue to progress the interpretation of the Fifth Amendment to ensure that all human beings are put with equal respect and dignity. For example, our interpretation of eminent domain still has to progress. In 2005's Kelo versus the City of New London, it was first denoted that eminent domain cases could be justified just by monetary compensation. In Ohio, they are debating whether or not eminent domain applies to Indian burial grounds. These are things that our generation is going to have to decide and progress our interpretation of the Fifth Amendment to maintain its applicability to the future. And so what's important is that we're able to come here and talk about what needs to change in the future for people to still be protected. Because there's too much hate in the world, too much anger in the world, and not enough love for our neighbors. So the fact that we are able to come here and orate, not just speak, orate on the importance of our rights and the importance of our ability to speak on behalf of ourselves is what makes this nation great and is what is going to make this nation great for the next many centuries. Thank you.